family, and welcome again to another live interview for the 52nd Quadrennial General Conference. We are on our penultimate day. That's a fancy way of saying we're almost there, y'all. And we are happy to have with us the president of one of our beloved AME institutions, Paul Quinn College. We have with us Dr. Michael Sorrell. Dr. Sorrell, welcome here on the Christian Recorder Dialogue today, here live at the General Conference.
It's good to be here. It's wonderful to see you.
Wonderful to see you again. You know, I've seen you online. I've heard your legend. I've seen you in the commission rooms, but this is the first time I've actually got to get with you close. Your staff and I have been going back and forth to talk about an amazing development in South of Paul Quinn that we want to share with you all. But first, this is the General Conference. So we were chopping it up beforehand. You mentioned that this is your 5th General Conference as a college president. So tell me, what is it like as a college president coming to an AME General Conference?
So, first of all, let me just say, we are huge fans of the work that you are doing at the Recorder. Like, you know, I read the updates every day. We just are appreciative that you are telling the stories of the church, because that's important. But listen, the first time I came, I didn't really even know up from down. Okay, presiding elder George Johnson, he wasn't a presiding elder then, he's just been a long time trustee of the college. He tried to prep me, and he said, it's nothing like you've seen. You have to be flexible because things change on a dime. And so the first time I was just in there with my eyes wide open to see the negotiations, to all of that. Now I'm like an old hand. Yeah. Now when, yesterday, when Bishop Eason, newly elected Bishop Eason, was on the stage and was trying to withdraw, and the crowd wouldn't let him withdraw, and and how his life changed because others had faith, right? He had a moment where it was a crisis of faith, and seeing that in live time, it just reminds me of, and maybe some of this is just because I'm getting older, right? But just the incredible history of the church and of having things of our own that represent our culture. Listen, I love it. I mean, I just think it's a special opportunity.
As we were coming in as well, we saw one of my good friends, one of my buddies, Felicia Commodore, walking in. And we know that she works with historically black colleges, specifically on institutions. She is now a tenured professor at the University of Illinois, the big one in Urbana-Champaign. And we've talked a lot about HBCUs and this renaissance that we're in, and Paul Quinn has had an amazing revitalization in your time there. And I know something really ultimately special has happened right now. So tell us, what's the latest piece of good news for Paul Quinn?
No, so we received an anonymous gift of $20 million.
Wow.
And listen, like I tell people, it wasn't a pledge for $20 million. That check cash, right?
So y'all made sure that someone, no shade to my Rattlers, but y'all made sure that someone actually had the money in the bank for the check.
I took the check to the bank myself, all right? Sat there and made sure the process, started the way it should. I mean, listen, our story is such a unique story.
Yes.
When I was inaugurated, I told people this is going to be the greatest transformational story in the history of higher education. There are no examples of institutions that effectively have been left for dead. And then not just to become sustainable, but to become one of America's thriving and special institutions. No matter who you ask, if you ask people in any level what are the most innovative colleges in America, Paul Quinn is named in that group, right? Not for HBCUs, not for minority serving institutions, for any institution. And that comes because, we have been the beneficiaries of some incredible leadership, right? So people always talk about boards, and they speak about boards disparagingly. That has not been my experience. I have a wonderful board, and have always had a board that allowed me to be entrepreneurial, right? And so Bishop Ingram did that. I will always be grateful to him because he picked me, right? Bishop McKenzie, who was extraordinary. Bishop Richardson, right? I mean, these are individuals who have said, we trust your leadership to go do unusual things. And I've always tried to pay them back for that. But in addition to that gift, we just gained operational control of 4 middle schools.
Wow.
Right? And have 2 high schools on our campus. We added them during the pandemic.
Wow.
So we are enacting this vision where we think colleges, 4-year institutions should adopt their local school districts and provide those students with a visual pathway to college education. So what we're going to do, all of the schools that are under our guidance and those students will all be admitted to college as long as they maintain a 3.0 grade point average and stay out of trouble, right? They will have an automatic admission to the school, because what we are saying is we have a bigger vision for American education than the small one that has been given to us. We are going to enact these principles, these beliefs, and we're going to do it under the banner of the AME Church, because if you know the history of the church, that's what we do. And so we have just refashioned it for the modern era, and we're doing it in a way too where people can forever take away this argument, well, we didn't have this and we didn't have that. We reject the politics of scarcity and we go build in abundance.
You know what, and what I like about that model is like the school I work at, I teach at the College of Charleston, there's like a program that we're piloting where we'll go to middle schools and high schools and teach classes. And just to hear that you all have taken that like that and above and beyond is amazing. And just again, seeing what Paul Quinn has done, the innovations, there's too much to tell in this short interview that we have with you. But I want to encourage you all to go look at the Paul Quinn story. Everything that y'all have done from, that redoing the football field to make it a community garden, to your partnerships, to that amazingly creative basketball space. I mean, y'all have just set the bar over and over and over again. And some would say that, and I know one of the big points in this election campaign has been, the role of HBCUs. And, we're truth tellers here in the Christian Reporter. We can tell you that, indeed, if you look at the numbers, Trump did not save HBCUs.
Not even close.
And the Biden administration has put in an overwhelming amount of money for HBCUs, everything from the Build Back Better plan to other things. So what moment are HBCUs living right now? And even the fact that the Biden administration is willing to tell state governors to pay back the money they owe to the land grant schools that have been underfunded for years. So as a college president, how are you looking at this moment of engagement with the U.S. government for HBCUs?
Yeah, so I think it's important to understand the historical context of how we arrived at this moment. We arrived at this moment in actuality because of the backlash to the Barack Obama election. So if you are a student of our history, and I know you are, but I'm talking about just people in general, you recognize with each seismic advance that the African American culture has made, there has been an enormous period of backlash, right? The Obama election created the Tea Party. That was their backlash, right? And the Tea Party planted seeds of discontent, anger, hostility, all across the southern part of the country. Other parts too, but it really manifested itself in those southern legislatures. Those legislatures began to enact policies that were hostile to African American families' interests. Go on. So now you start to see a proliferation of what I would call aggressive outward racism, right? It was no longer covert, it was overt. And you start seeing things like what happened at University of Oklahoma, what happened at University of Missouri. And parents start asking themselves, what exactly are we gaining by introducing our children to these environments? We have been led to believe that they will provide an excellent education, but maybe we have defined education too narrowly. And so the tide began to turn that way. Now, you get to the Trump administration, and when you start telling people that white supremacists are fine individuals, right,
some people on both sides.
On both sides, right? Well, no, that's not true. And so people want to misrepresent what Trump did. Listen, it is hard to hug me with one hand, punch me with the other hand, right? But let's really talk about what the Trump administration actually did. What they did in their moment was they said we are in fact. They misrepresented the facts. And then, to show you their true intent, attacked every level of African American life that would lead students to HBCUs. So ask yourself, how can someone be an advocate for you when they actually are attacking all the levels of society that produce students to come to you? Right? It just doesn't follow. Right? It doesn't follow. And so, he has a history of being incredibly consistent. How you choose to ignore that history just because of what someone says, I don't understand. But the Biden administration has been a friend to our institutions. And I have every expectation that a Harris administration, being the first time that an HBCU alum is in the White House. See, I don't think enough is made of that. The sister was vice president. The HBCU community had a vice president, right? She's about to be president, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise, right? She's going to be president of the United States. What this means for us from a resource standpoint will be extraordinary, from a confidence standpoint, because we can forevermore just dispel the notion that you can't get from here to there at an HBCU. No, you can become the president of the United States with an HBCU education. Wow. Come on now.
That's wonderful. That's
right.
Wonderful. That's a good perspective to think about, because I mean, just looking at the fact that, yes, you may have done a move to, we also that photo out that President Trump had with the HBCU.
Which I was forever thankful that I decided not to attend that.
But then when you look at what you're doing beneath it, like you said, the system. Don't please see the forest around the tree.
Anybody can do a photo op.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Sorrell, we know we got to get you out of here to the airport. Before you go, first of all, I want to highlight this $20 million gift that's going to be a major blessing to that school. And just thank you for taking your time to be here with us. And Paul Quinn has been an amazing light to the AME Church. So share with us, before you go, some final thoughts of what you want AMEs to know about Paul.
Thank you. Well, first of all, let me just say, what Paul Quinn wants the AME family to know is we are thankful. We are thankful for your years, actually your centuries of faith in us and investment in us. It has not always been easy, but we have always kept moving forward. We are here to make you proud. As we move forward, we are just warming up. We are going to uphold the AME principles of bringing light and knowledge to other corners of the world. Our goal, our vision, is to open up Paul Quinn colleges all over the world. Our urban work college model, where every Paul Quinn student gets a job, we think that model changes lives in a way that more people should have access to. That's what we're building towards. And in the process, we want to forever make sure that you all see us for how we see ourselves, an institution that is faithful to our history, but absolutely determined to keep making people proud of us. So thank you for your faith. Thank you for your gifts. Those of you who have sent money, thank you for that. Please continue to do so. But even those of you who can't send money, send us your prayers. We are grateful for those as well.
All right. Thank you, Sorrell. We will see you next time. It's always a pleasure. And you'll be hearing more from us about Paul Quinn. Take care.